Good evening, everyone. I will call our regular council meeting on April 28th, 2025 to order at 6:30 p.m. May I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Cressman. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. We have a recommendation to go into a closed council meeting at 6:30 at the Wilmot Administrative Complex in accordance with Section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act for 2001 to consider the following, and that is CAO recruitment, Section 239(2)B, personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees. To get this on the floor, may I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Sadhu. All those in favor, and that carries unanimously. And we will reconvene around 7 p.m. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to those who have joined us in the gallery, and apologies for our tardiness as we were finishing up closed. I will look to Council for a motion to reconvene an open session at 7:22 p.m. Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Cressman. All those in favour? And that carries unanimously. And I will call on Councillor Wilkinson to read the territorial land acknowledgement.
We have gathered in Wilmot Township on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga peoples. We also want to acknowledge the importance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, a peace agreement made between Indigenous nations before the Europeans arrived. It characterizes our collective responsibility to each other and Mother Earth, that we should take only what we need, leave enough for others, and keep the dish clean. And by acknowledging this covenant and the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, we are reminded of our important connection to this land where we live, learn, and work together as a community.
Thank you, Councillor. We have no additions to this evening's agenda, so the recommendation is that the agenda as presented for April 28th, 2015 be adopted. Is there a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Cressman. All those in favour? That carries unanimously. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest, councillors? Seeing none, we do have minutes from the previous meeting of March 24th for our regular council meeting and the April 7th Committee of the Whole meeting to be adopted as presented. May I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favour? That carries unanimously. And I'm very happy to say that we have one presentation this evening, and that is actually from our regional staff to present the Region of Waterloo's Grand River Transit Business Plan. This is for information and an update as requested by Regional Council, that Commissioner Spooner and his team come out and present the great work that they're doing and the culmination of well over a year's worth of research and hard planning into kind of giving us a roadmap into transportation across the region for the next few years. So without further ado, I will invite up Doug Spooner, our Commissioner of Transportation Services at the region, and Kevin Marshall, the Manager of Transit Development at the Region of Waterloo, to address Council. Thank you very much, Doug and Kevin, for joining us this evening.
Well, thank you very much. All right, thank you. So my name is Kevin Marshall. I'm the Manager of Transit Development, and I'm joined by our Commissioner, Doug Spooner, who we can answer some questions at the end of this as well, if there are any. On behalf of GRT, thank you for the opportunity to present today and for working together to help make sustainable transportation the easy choice across Waterloo Region. Over the next 10 minutes, I'll walk you through the different sections of GRT's business plan and the proposed transit investment priorities that help increase speed and reliability, serve new areas, and make transit the easier to use for communities across Waterloo Region. So before we begin, I just want to quickly reflect on GRT's past 25 years and the transformative impact sustained investment in transit has had on our communities. So for example, in 1999, you couldn't get a city bus between Cambridge and Kitchener and Waterloo. 25 years later, I'm here to share GRT's first business plan since the successful launch of Ion Bus and Light Rail Transit, our record-setting ridership, and what you'll see is strong public support for GRT to connect people, jobs, and homes across all communities in Waterloo Region. Next slide there. GRT's business plan responds to the region's projected population growth and transit priorities identified through the region's strategic plan, recent budget consultations, and projects led by all of our area municipalities. So ultimately, the GRT business plan will provide a roadmap for staff as we prepare transit investment proposals over the next 10 years and beyond. Our guiding principles shaped our planning and public engagement efforts and focused on asking how we can make transit the easy first choice for more people. So we did this to better understand the concept of transit freedom, which this means that useful transit improves where you can go and what you can do in a 1-hour transit trip. So you get more time back in your day to do the things you want to do instead of trying to get to where you need to go. The plan's strategic focus areas at the bottom of the slide, frequency, speed, customer focus, innovation, new coverage, and a simple and intuitive network, were shaped by these discussions and inform each transit investment priority I'll present shortly. Before I begin, there are 3 main parts to GRT's business plan, which are supported by new technology and fare strategy. They are the conventional bus and train business plan, so think of our core network, the Mobility Plus and Kiwanis Transit Specialized Transit Plan, and then the Township Transit Strategy, which we're happy to detail tonight. Each part of the plan has been tailored based on thoughtful region-wide engagement, which I'll walk you through on this next slide. Throughout the summer and fall, GRT reached out to riders and residents and partners and staff to hear from everyone about the transit investment priorities and ideas we could consider in this plan. So our focus was on connecting with riders and residents across every community. You see that in the central image there. We heard from more than 2,000 people that we connected with through station outreach, bus ride-alongs, neighborhood events, and online virtual sessions. We built out a robust contributor network, which we showed in this diagram of different groups we consulted with on multiple occasions and helped us amplify our public engagement opportunities with their networks. Our consultation for the township's transit strategy in particular focused on virtual and in-person sessions and key community destinations in each township. And then we also worked really closely with our partners in each municipality. So for example, we worked really closely with the Waterloo Region Economic Development Strategy, which has membership from all area municipalities, to hear about local needs for economic resiliency. We also did something really unique. We worked with our public health team, which provides health information and resources to underserved neighborhoods using a GRT bus. So we joined them on their outreach in every municipality to hear from new voices and ideas on GRT. A couple of key themes here emerged from our engagement, which supported the comments we heard throughout the development of the region's strategic plan and public feedback during recent budget consultations. So this included things like a better frequency and all-day schedules across the network, reflecting our shift away from a 9-to-5 community, opportunities to speed up transit trips between the cities and townships, expansion to new and growing areas of the region, and a need to make transit affordable for those who need it most. There's a couple of things I really want to highlight here, including improved stop accessibility. So we're happy to share that throughout our entire network, including our township services today, this is being accelerated through recent budget approvals for better stop infrastructure. And another big piece to highlight is our enthusiasm for improvement of new township transit options from residents, not just amongst township residents, but also for city residents that are excited and eager to connect to rural destinations. And this really demonstrates the value of a region-wide transit network, and something we'll profile in the coming slides here. I'll now walk you quickly through our transit investment priorities for each part of the business plan. And so combined, they will help make transit the easy choice by significantly expanding our service area of GRT, improving transit travel times, and connecting communities across Waterloo Region. I'll start with our bus and train transit priorities. These help achieve the strategic focus areas identified by riders and key contributors in our area municipalities. And they include increasing frequency to 10 minutes on weekdays on 16 key routes throughout Cambridge, Kitchener, and Waterloo. We're looking at adding trips to make the schedules more intuitive and reflect our shift away from that 9-to-5 community. We're introducing rapid highway services to give riders up to 20 minutes back in their day, expanding the service by bringing new routes to growing industrial areas and residential communities throughout Cambridge, Southwest Kitchener, and North Waterloo, and launching more late-night services and working towards introducing a 24/7 service on key routes to support shift workers, students, and core areas throughout our communities. From our specialized transit services plan, the key priorities for this include meeting demand for Mobility Plus services and targeting no unmet trips with new staff, modern technologies, and a bigger fleet. We're looking to extend Mobility Plus service hours in coordination with GRT's overnight service expansion and enhance the Mobility Plus customer experience. GRT has also developed a township transit strategy that responds to requests for better access to and from the rural destinations in each township, as well as recognizing each township's unique community character. So the goal is to provide residents with better access to essential services and employment opportunities. The future township transit network includes enhancements to existing fixed routes here in Wilmot, as well as in Woolwich, future fixed routes for North Dumfries and Wellesley to connect to GRT's core network, similar to how the Route 77 does today. The introduction of a new fixed route service to Breslau in the region of Waterloo International Airport, with connections to GO at Sports World and Kitchener Central Station, and the introduction of on-demand transit zones, as well as exploring commingling of our specialized transit services in each township to expand GRT's rural service area. So really excited that combined, our township transit priorities dramatically expand the service area of GRT to nearly all of Waterloo Region. Just take a moment to walk you through our fares strategy, which focuses on diversifying our revenues, supporting service improvements, and promoting affordable access for those who need it most. We're looking at doing this by providing support to families and caregivers and introducing free transit for children 12 and under, enhancing GRT's affordable transit program to provide bigger discounts to those with the greatest financial need, matching future fare increases to our annual service expansion, inflation, or comparable transit systems, and supporting our local workforce by expanding business account programs with GRT's new mobile app, GRT Pay. The transit priorities of the GRT business plan serve as an important upstream strategy as we grow with care and unlock tremendous potential benefits for Waterloo Region. So for example, approximately 400,000 people and 200,000 jobs today are within 800 meters of the proposed frequent transit network. We have new coverage proposed for a number of areas within the cities, as well as transit options proposed for every township. And compared to today, we improve that concept of transit freedom across the region. So the average rider can reach approximately 38,000 more people and 15,000 more jobs within a 1-hour transit trip. Commuters will also save significant time savings on trips between Cambridge and Waterloo using our proposed Highway Express services. And overall, transit trips become, and this is a key message here, transit messages become more competitive and more affordable compared to cars or ride-sharing services like Uber. And this is really what's so important during an affordability crisis. Our future transit network can save people from needing to buy and maintain a second car, and this plan can help unlock over $1,000 in monthly income that would otherwise be trapped in car ownership and maintenance costs. So good transit means more people have more money left in their pocket to live their life. Just want to highlight how we've worked really closely with the municipalities, and really that the GRT business plan will be our playbook to work better with each municipality and achieve our shared priorities for sustainable transportation. Transit supportive policies and programs in regional and area municipal land use and transportation plans really are critical to maximizing the ridership potential of the GRT business plan and our shared goals for livable communities. So next stops, pun intended for transit enthusiasts. Staff have provided an information update to Regional Council and are sharing tonight's presentation at every interested municipal council as well too. So we'll be seeking Regional Council's endorsement of our plan later this spring. And thank you again for the opportunity to present tonight, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Councillors, as noted, this is a decision being made at the regional table, but more than welcome for regional staff to take your questions. Councillor Dunstall, I see you have some.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I spoke with Mr. Marshall before we started and told him that I had read his presentation and I thought it was great, but I did have some concerns. We hear continually from our constituents over and over again through public consultation, township transit strategy, as well as previous council meetings, that the service is subpar. And we know what it is: limited on demand coverage, no weekend or service or evening services, and we don't get to take advantage of some of the great programs you have. You know, the Kids Ride Free, that's a great program. And affordable fares, we certainly have people here who also are pinching pennies, right? I did attend one of your sessions online, and I must say it was very well done, very professional, so thank you. One of the things that I heard continuously was a concern about time. And even with your new proposals, a trip from Wilmot to the urban core is over an hour with several transfers. And that's just a barrier for our seniors, our youth, and for mobility challenge. In addition, I noticed that you had the integration of Mobility Plus and Kiwanis Transit, but there's no clear plan or even a timeline. So until we get that, then it's just talk. And we're seeing significant infrastructure investment in the urban areas, light rail, terminals, garages, dedicated corridors, and the townships are left with service zones. This is a long-term plan, and Wilmot is growing. We have a lot of people that commute on a daily basis, and we have a few new subdivisions coming in. We have the employment lands. So my question to you, or my ask of you, and I love having decision makers in the room, it makes it so much easier, is that you give greater consideration to the townships. And I would actually, and I know that I spoke with CAO Clark, and he mentioned to me that you guys had worked very well together. Your team and our team really did a great job, so thank you for that. But he did mention that cost was going to be an issue, and with our budget that just transpired, I know our constituents are not really happy about adding cost to that. However, I do have a lot of constituents who really want that better service. So what I would ask is if it would be possible for your team to work with our team and perhaps come back September, I think we have a committee of the whole on September 8th, with some options of what services we could actually get with the cost attached to it. And then let's go out to the constituents and say, hey, this is how much it's going to cost. Are you willing to invest, or is it something that is not of interest to you at this point? If you could do that, that would be great. And on a side note, Commissioner Spooner, thank you for approving of the Veterans Crosswalk. I would ask if you put something in writing, because we can't go until it's done. So I'm really hoping you do that. And I'm done. Thank you so much for your time.
May I? Yeah. Through you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor. You've got a number of things there I'd like to talk about. We'll have you something in writing on the crosswalk. Jeff and I connected before the meeting. We have a significant implementation challenge with transit in the townships, and it comes in the form of the area rating. And so that is every kilometre traveled of transit in the township is funded by the township, which is part of why we're here and part of why your ask for September makes complete sense. It would be in our conversations with CAO Clark, where it would be inappropriate for me to put forward a transit plan that was unsupported by this council in this room, because it will hit your tax base. I think at the same time, we hear what you're hearing. People are interested in this, right? And we made a few discoveries during the planning process that were really important. The first is that Route 77 right now is one of the highest performing rural transit routes in Ontario, along with the 21 that goes to Elmira. So we were really proud of that. And we know going forward that the growth patterns for housing and jobs align with Route 77. And so in other jurisdictions, we were talking about introducing new services, really pushing on demand first. And really what we've got here is we've got a route that's ready to perform even better. It needs some increases in time span, time of day, and it needs weekends. And so we know that. And so our opening approach to transit proposals in Wilmot will look at Route 77, and then eventually down the road we may want to look at on-demand. Kids Go Free, which is currently at 6 and under, with council support in a few weeks could get to 12 and under, along with the affordable transit program, are available to all residents of the region, so that will be good. We've got to make some changes to the policy. We've also discovered something interesting in our work, and you rightly mentioned the integration of Mobility Plus and Kiwanis was our opening thought, and we actually did that segment of the business plan as one. And then as we worked through it with increasing concerns about cost, right? And I will tell you, as we look at the entirety of the township transit strategy, so that's for all 4 townships, full maturity, $3.5 to $4 million, depending on implementation options. And so as we think about what results in 1% for council in Wilmot, I'm appreciating the scale at which I'm talking. And so then we started to look at, well, we've got an existing service. We've got the 77. We also have Kiwanis vehicles here now. And so the discussion that Kevin said about commingling is actually, don't run 2 separate services like we would do in an urban core. You don't need a Mobility Plus and a conventional service. What you could actually do is put them together. And so now when we procure our software for that, you will be able to do that. And so folks, regardless of the service they need in the township, will call one dispatch center and we'll be able to get them a ride. But your point about time is key. And so there are some pieces in there that I'm excited about. And I was thinking, Mayor, about your trip into regional headquarters. And so today, that trip would be a Route 77 trip to the boardwalk. That won't change in future. The 204 that would then pick up would be, every 15 minutes, so you might have some wait time in there. And then that's still about 22 minutes into regional HQ. So you're right, it's about an hour. And then when Kevin and I talk about this, that's really what we're trying to get to, right? And it's the time in travel, which we can't defeat that, right? It takes how long it takes. It's the time in transfer. And so we know that our customers calculate that time at 3 to 1. So if somebody waits for 5 minutes, it feels like 15. If they wait for 10, it feels like 30. And so that's a big piece that we've got to get at. But when you think about what that time actually is, that's time with your family, that's time, to do schoolwork, that's time to work a bit of overtime at your job. So those things become critical. But most of all, to answer your question, I think we've got the ability to do a lot with the township strategy, but we've got to do it with the lens of cost containment. We have to do it in a way that builds transit over time, and we have to do it with your support. So I hope that, I've got a couple of answers all in one there, but that's the big one. So, yeah, thank you.
Any additional questions? Councillor Wilkinson.
Through the chair, thank you for the presentation. And the comments on cost containment obviously is of interest, so I appreciate that and the lens that you're looking at this through. I was going to ask about the on-demand, but I feel like you've just sort of addressed that in terms of how you intend to approach it. My question was more so around the slide where it suggested there'd be better access for the township. And when we look at Route 77, again, I'm not super familiar, but I know it can be very lengthy in between stops and it runs in a limited time. So what would your intention be to expand it to provide better access? Like what exactly does that mean?
You want that one? Yeah, I trip over here.
Yeah. So, for example, like I took Route 77 to come here today too, just and my joke is that now I'm going to have dinner with my wife's ex-husband because there's no service to get me back to Kitchener tonight. We have a good relationship, so if he's listening to this is fine. But when we talk about access, that's exactly what we talk about. So when we did a lot of our engagement over the summer, a lot of powerful, the great piece about doing our engagement at stations and stops and doing those ride-alongs is you hear the human story behind transit, and that's the big piece we hear is the absence of schedule is an absence of access. So when we improve the time of day or the span of service, so when we can go into later evenings and earlier mornings, and particularly even weekend service as well too, we unlock access. And then to Commissioner Spooner's earlier commentary, once you do that, you can build upon from there too. So, but unlocking more time at the beginning and end of days and on weekends is, we see the impact that has on ridership and most importantly, that idea of transit freedom and giving time back into people's day. Yeah, sure.
Through the chair, just to expand on that as well, I mean, I think there could be obvious trade-offs for the town, right? You have potential tourist access on the weekends or early mornings, but then also bringing in additional talent that may not normally come this way via vehicle. So I think it's a win-win all around, truthfully. So appreciate the insight.
No problem. If I may, through the chair. The one piece on that I wanted to kind of highlight was what we heard from our economic development teams as well too. A partnership with all local municipalities was that key piece around talent acquisition and retention in Waterloo Region as a community, but in each community that by providing this access, it provided the ability to live and most importantly work here and stay here long term. So I think that was a key message. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Councillor Martin.
Through you, Mayor Salonen, I appreciate your presentation and both of you talking, and I just want to echo what my colleagues have been saying. I think this is very important, and so I'm hoping there can be actions. I think what's been discussed is very good, and so I'm hoping we can follow through with later times and weekend access and more to the townships.
Any other comments or questions? Well, seeing none, thank you very much, Manager Marshall and Commissioner Spooner, for coming today. We really appreciate it. And I just want to also extend, I know I've said it before in meetings, but I want to publicly state thank you so much for all the work that you're both doing. You've actually really made me enjoy this file at the region, even though we only have one bus out in Wilmot. And I guess just the other thing for those listening, I know there were a lot of sticker shock numbers showing up. That is on your regional portion of the tax bill, not on your Wilmot portion. I just want to be super clear about that. But yes, thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to it coming back at Regional Council.
Thank you.
Thanks. And you're welcome to stick around for the rest of our meeting. Super exciting stuff happening. But, all right, on to, we have no delegations this evening. There was correspondence provided, 4 pieces in particular. Did anybody want to pull any of those items? Seeing none. We do have multiple consent agenda items. Would anybody like to remove any of those items? Councillor Dunstall?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Yes, I think it was 12.1, the HR piece. One of the things I was wondering is the exit reviews. CAO Clark, is that something that can be supplied to council? Certainly not weekly, or hopefully not weekly, but quarterly, even if it's once a year, but something where we would be able to see why our staff choose to leave.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the councillor, I think, yes, as part of that policy, we're looking at the reporting that would come back to council, and we can definitely include that as one of the items that we would identify a frequency and the level of detail. We obviously want to be cognizant of, personal information that may be included, but at the end of the day, I don't think the reasons and the motivations can't be shared with council, and I think definitely we can include that as a reporting requirement.
Any other questions or comments on 12.1? Councillor Wilkinson?
Yes, through the chair, one of the things that was noted at the committee of the whole, and it was noted in our meeting minutes earlier, is that we were requested and looking for the 8 comparator municipalities be provided over to council. I did a pretty thorough check of my email and correspondence. I don't recall seeing that. So I'm actually inclined to look to potentially move this to our next council meeting or defer it to it until we can potentially review that information. So looking for an update on that and if that's coming.
Just to quickly clarify, this is the decision-making tonight is that this review and consideration will come back to our June committee of the whole, so it is already coming back to council, but I will let CAO Clark add on.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. Yes, we did discuss that, and I am noting that I know I had a conversation with Lindsay. Off the top of my head, I cannot remember whether we heard back from all of the comparators, but I will follow up on that. But as the mayor noted, this is to give us direction to come back in June. So we will get something back to you before you're asked to make a decision around a policy, for sure.
And follow-up?
Through the chair, just looking for that to be noted. I have no problem with it coming back in June, but hopefully seeing that sooner rather than later.
Any other questions or comments on 12.1? Seeing none, any other items on the consent agenda that anyone would like to pull? Okay, seeing none, I would look for a mover and a seconder then for items 12.1 through to 12.5. Moved by Councillor Dunstall, seconded by Councillor Wilkinson. All those in favor, and that carries unanimously. And on to our reports for this evening. Our first one, the recommendation is that the Nicholas Municipal Drain consideration of the engineer's report be received for information, and that council accepts the report from K-Smart Associates Limited dated February 28th, 2025 for the Nicholas Municipal Drain 2025, and that council consider the provisional adoption of bylaw 25-18 being a bylaw to provide for drainage work known as the Nicholas Municipal Drain, and that councillors, which we will fill in 2 options in a moment, to be appointed to the Court of Revision to be held on Tuesday, May 27th, 2025 at 6 p.m. To get this on the floor, may I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Cressman, seconded by Councillor Dunstall. And I will now invite John Coons to present the engineer's report, please. Thank you for joining us, John.
Can you bring up the watershed plan? So good evening, everyone. I'm substituting this evening for the engineer who prepared the report. That would be Curtis McIntyre. On Saturday evening, he became a new father. And I convinced him that his fatherly duties were more important than coming to the council meeting, that I could sub for him, no problem. Because I've worked closely with him all through this process and was involved at various times with the Nicholas Drain long before we decided we needed a new engineer's report. So I'm just going to run briefly through the report to give you a little bit of an overview, and then I'll turn it back over to the mayor to chair the balance of the meeting for any questions that, that anyone may have. So what we're dealing with initially, primarily, is an existing municipal drain. The Nicholas Drain was originally constructed under a 1964 engineer's report, and that work was actually initiated in the Township of Isora. And back in those days, it was just the Township of Isora in Oxford County. So the watershed for the drain sort of straddles Oxford Road 5, the boundary road between the two municipalities. And under the 1964 report, almost all of the drain was constructed in East or Tavistock. It did come up and provide outlet for some lands in Wilmot, but there was no extensive work under the 1964 report in Wilmot Township. So the drain is in two parts, and if you look at the watershed plan, it starts down on Maplewood Side Road in East or Tavistock. There was a short length on that lower farm that was an open ditch, and then the rest of it is all tile drain. And the main drain is the line that goes sort of north parallel to the road and then swings across up near the north end of the watershed and came up to Waterloo Oxford Road 5. And one of the key things that I'm going to point out as we go through the procedure, it only came to the downstream side of the road. It never crossed the road. We're not sure why it never crossed the road in 1964, but it stopped on the downstream side of the road. And then the second part of it is what's called the branch drain. And that on the lower part of the drain, you'll see a little Y in those heavy black lines. And there's an easterly part of the Y that sort of swings up. That particular branch drain did cross Oxford Road 5, but only went for a couple hundred feet through a portion of the first Wilmot Township farm, which was the Wagler farm. And then it stopped there and hooked up to some older drains. So that was sort of the extent of the drain that was created in 1964. So the process that you have before you initially started with a request under Section 78 of the Drainage Act to have work done on the branch drain on the Wagler farm. They were having tremendous amount of problem with blowouts, big holes in their field every spring. So they wanted to try and get more capacity for the drain. And because that was an existing municipal drain, that's done under what we call Section 78, where we can repair the drain on the Wagler property upon their request, and then the engineer has to make whatever improvements are necessary going downstream. But when you're dealing with Section 78, you can't create anything new upstream. So the engineer initially, we conducted site meetings and came up with a proposal. The branch drain had to be fully reconstructed then to bring it up to a more better present-day standard. And then that also required that the lower portion of the main drain had to be reconstructed. And so that was all put together, and we were ready to move ahead on that. The only, I guess, significant part of that is there was a portion, as I indicated in the opening remarks, that was an open ditch on the Bender farm, and that open ditch continued a little ways north of Maplewood Side Road. Very inconvenient for farming. It sort of bisected a little piece of the farm there. So Mr. Bender requested that it be replaced with a tile drain, and we were successful in doing that, but anytime you go to alter a water course in Ontario right now, whether it's an existing municipal drain, a natural water course, or whatever, you require approval from Fisheries and Oceans Canada or the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. And we were successful after having a number of meetings with DFO that they felt we're doing a little bit of mitigation work on the channel where it runs parallel to Maplewood Side Road. They were happy to see that work done, and then they allow us to fill in the open ditch. But otherwise, the proposal was just to put a bigger tile drain up to the branch drain and then a bigger tile up to the Wagler property. But during the site meetings, what we determined we invite all of the people in the watershed to attend those meetings, that there were a large number of farms in Wilmot Township that had no outlet. Or they had outlet into old private drains, and they needed somewhere to go. So the first of them was at the top end of the branch drain. The next farm to the Wagler farm, there's a big 100-acre parcel there, was owned by Gary Zare, And I had been out to see him numerous times because he had old tile on his property that he was wishing someone would help him repair, but I couldn't repair them because they weren't a municipal drain. Part of it was an old private drain, and part of it was what we call an award drain from the 1930s. So as soon as this report got started, Gary Zer immediately filed a petition so that he could get the drain extended through his property. And we require a petition whenever you're going to construct something new. So that was the first petition that came in, and that allows the drain then to be extended from the Wagler farm up to, I keep getting or make sure I get the right names. I think that's Bethel Road, isn't it? But up to the next township road there. And then all of his tile drainage was going to have a good outlet. He'd have a proper capacity going through his farm. Then the next one where the issue arose is the Herb farm, Kevin and Tracy Herb, and their farm is immediately north of sorry, no, that's Bean Road. Yeah, sorry, Bean Road. Immediately north of Bean Road, it's a triangular piece of land there. They actually had 3 locations where they had outlet problems. The first was the main drain. The main drain never crossed the road under the 1964 report. There was an old tile under the road. It eventually collapsed or quit working. And I met with the Herbs, and I met with Mr. Wagler, the tenant on the property. But it wasn't part of the municipal drain, so I couldn't do anything about it. There was no repair work we could do. So the first part of their petition is to get the drain extended across the road. It needs a brand new drain under Township Road 5. And of course, it's not sized properly, so that's going to require then that the entire length of the main drain now has to be improved from Township Road 5 all the way down through to the outlet. And all of the landowners in East Lower Tavistock were in favor of that because they all realized that the drain was undersized. And then the second part, or the second location on the herb farm where there was another private drain went under Oxford Road 5, and that was at the intersection of Bean Road and Road 5. That was plugged. I went out with Mr. Wagler at one point. They tried running a camera through it. They tried running a cleaner, like to try and get it to go through. They got to the middle of the road and couldn't go any farther. So they'd already petitioned, so the engineer incorporated that. So we're going to create a brand new branch drain then to provide an outlet for that corner of their farm. That's in the southwest corner, and then over in the southeast corner is this old award drain from 1936. And they decided that if we're coming all the way to Bean Road, we might as well continue through the corner of their property so that they'd have a properly sized drain, and that brought the drain then up to Diamond Road. So then the church came on board because they were having outlet problems. I have been out to see them numerous times. There was a point in time 5 or 6 years ago, no, sorry, it'd be maybe 10 years ago now, I guess. They were going to make an improvement to the church, and they needed to improve the drainage around the outside of the foundation. And they dug up all these old clay tile on their property, but couldn't figure out where they went. We finally did conclude that there's some sort of old clay tile goes down the side of Diamond Road in the bottom of the road ditch, and then north and connected to the old Ennis Road award drain. So after having a couple of meetings with the church trustees, we decided that they should petition to get an outlet for their property, and we would then continue this branch drain from Diamond Road up and across Bean Road, so that they would have a proper subsurface drainage outlet or tile drain outlet, so that if they want to make any improvements around their church building and on their property, they're going to have a proper legal outlet that they can get into. And then right near the end, when We thought we were almost finished. Two more landowners in Wilmot Township came forth, and they're way up in the north end of the watershed. Quiet Oak. Is it Quiet Oak Dairy? They were going to tile drain. I had got a call from their contractor at one point in time, and he wanted to know where is he going to go with the water if he tile drains this part of their farm. And I said, well, they're probably going to have to petition. We have a drain in progress, so you can soon get an outlet, but you'll have to file a petition. So that was for Quiet Oak Dairy, which is the Bergeric family, the same people that run Mountain Oak. And so then the farm north of that, they had a little chunk of land that they could never tile drain because it had an outlet, the Huntsbergers. So they added their name to the petition as well. So after that went through, then we had extended the main drain across Oxford County Road 5. We now extend it up to Diamond Road and then go north along Diamond Road and get an outlet for both the Quiet Oak Farm and the Huntsberger Farm. So that's what is in all of this this report then. So there were the initial Section 78 request and then the 4 petition to get the extensions done. And now there's probably at least a third of the new drain is actually going to be in Wilmot Township. The lands in Wilmot Township are now going to get a proper level of service, and the entire network of the drain in Easor Tavistock is going to be improved. So there's a little bit of ditch work alongside of Maplewood Side Road. We're closing in approximately 227 meters of existing ditch, and then there's going to be a total of 3,876 meters of new tile drain constructed, where the sizes are going to vary from 750 millimeter down to 8-inch, because when you get way up to the top end, say for the church property and up on the Quiet Oak property, you're dealing with a small part of the watershed. You only need 8-inch pipe. The other thing that's there's an unusual complex of roads that sort of run every which way in this little area. So there's a multitude of road crossings, and one of the numbers, I don't think I've ever worked on a drain that would have 28 catch basin structures on it. And what tallies that number up so quickly is every time you cross a road, we like to have a catch basin on both sides of the road. So everybody knows where the drain is, you can see it, it's working. And because of the multitude of road crossings that we have, it added up in a hurry, because there are 6 paved road crossings and 2 gravel road crossings. So there's a total of 8 road crossings in that little watershed area out there. So it's Oxford Road 5 has 1, 2, 3 crossings. Bean Road has 1 crossing. And then Diamond Road has a crossing, and then the gravel roads are in Easor Tavistock. 19th line is just a gravel road. And all of the paved roads are going to be tunneled. There will be no disruption to traffic. And the 2 gravel roads, or the 2 gravel road crossings, are going to be opened. And it's the new design standard, the current design standard that we use for agricultural drainage, what's called a 1.5-inch drainage coefficient, which means that the drain is capable of removing 1.5 inches of water from the watershed area in a 24-hour period. To give that reference, I didn't check the calculations, but I'm pretty sure that a drain that was designed in 1964 would have provided a 3/8-inch drainage coefficient. So this is going to give a dramatic improvement to the agricultural land that's in the watershed. So the final part then, if you could flip to the other, I think they sent one more slide or one more PDF file. Yes. And if you just enlarge that a little bit so we could see the bottom of the page, is that possible? It's just, I wanted to give a little overview of the, this is page 23 in the report. Yeah, scroll there, that should be good, yes. So that shows that the total construction cost for all of what I just described, $630,000. The total engineering cost comes to $140,000, and that's broke out into the work for the report itself, the meetings that we're going to deal with respect to the report, and then the engineering services that are involved in supervising the construction of the drain, getting it tendered, and then $14,800 in what's called administrative cost, which is explained in the report. And then the one number that's missing from that table, there's also $44,000 in allowances to the landowners for disruption to their property and for right-of-way, different things like that. So we come up with a total estimated cost of $830,000. Now, the report does include, after this particular section, Schedule A, the schedule of assessment that shows how that cost is assessed to all of the lands and roads within the watershed, both in Esor, Tavistock, and in the Township of Wilmot. It includes the Schedule B, which is going to be used for assessing future maintenance cost on any part of the drain. And then what we call Schedule C, which is the schedule that's going to provide for the levy of the final cost once you know what it is. And Schedule C identifies the part of the project that's going to be eligible for the 1/3 grant. Any work that's done under the Drainage Act, there's a 1/3 grant through the Ministry of Agriculture and Food based on what's called their ADIP policy. And one of the aspects that we've had to separate out in this report is they do not pay grant on ditch enclosures. So if you have an existing municipal drain and you go to put a tile in to replace it, they won't pay the 1/3 grant on that. So that in Schedule C has been separated out. And then in Schedule C, we've identified which of the agricultural lands in the watershed qualify for the 1/3 grant based on the current OMAFRA policy. But again, I'm just sort of mentioning the assessments. At the meeting tonight, we don't deal with assessments. If there's going to be objections or any major discussion about assessments, that has to take place at the Court of Revision. And in your recommendation, that's been set for May the 27th. So that would be the presentation of the report. I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor Salonen, to chair the rest of the meeting.
Thank you very much, John, for your breakdown of the report and also for stepping in last minute so that Curtis can be with his family. Councillor Dunstall for questions.
Thank you. Thank you, John. I did have a question. A constituent asked me to ask this question, so I'm going to ask you, and he promised he was going to watch, so he'll be listening to your answer. Would deepening and enclosing the drain could alter water flow and impact neighboring properties or ecosystems? Is that a possibility?
Sorry.
Deepening and enclosing the drain, could that alter the water flow and impact neighboring properties or ecosystems?
Sorry, and are you saying closing the drain?
Enclosing the drain.
Yes, no, that's what we worked through both with the Conservation Authority and with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. And yeah, no, to replace the open ditch at the very bottom end of the drain with a tile drain it's just going to convey the flow in a closed conduit instead of the channel being an open conduit.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, so it has no impact on any other lands in the watershed.
Any additional questions, councillors, for John? Councillor Cressman.
Yes, through you, Mayor, thank you as well, John. I always learn a lot from your presentations, and I guess the one question I had was that I think you talked about the coefficient of 1.5, and a lot of the existing drainage was designed around a much lower coefficient. Is there an opportunity for landowners to request upgrading the coefficient of drainage in this system that they currently have? If they have a municipal drain on their property, and can they request that it be upgraded to today's standard as compared
Yes,
to this
that's
standard.
what's, if you have an existing municipal drain, that's what Section 78 is intended to cover. So you can create a brand-new improvement to the drain that you had constructed under the previous engineer's report, as long as you're dealing with the parts of the drain that were constructed, and they can be brought up to that 1.5-inch drainage coefficient, yes. And all that requires is, in this particular case, it was just one landowner. Like, we need one person who wants to sign a request to have an engineer appointed. The engineer then conducts site meetings, and we deal with everybody else in the watershed who needs improvements, and it can expand out. So as I say, it developed initially for the branch drain, but eventually through the petition and through the Section 78 process, we had to redo the entire main drain then as well. So any other old drains in the municipality can go through this same process under Section 78 of the Drainage Act.
Any other questions, councillors? Seeing none, thank you again, John, for joining us this evening. Now I will ask if there are any ratepayers that wish to question on the engineer's report, noting that questions are on the report only, not on the assessment, as any appeals regarding assessment are to be addressed in the Court of Revision following at the following meeting on the 27th of May. So are there any ratepayers? Are there any online? No? Okay, we are not seeing any. Are there any petitioners present who wish to withdraw their names from the petition at this time? Also not seeing any. Are there any online? No. Okay. And are there any owners present owning lands within the area requiring drainage and have not signed the petition who wish to add their names to the petition at this time? Also not seeing any in the gallery. Any online? Okay, and not seeing any online. So that deals with the technical part. Council, we do need 2 willing volunteers to be on. We already have Councillor Cressman. Before I can even finish what you're volunteering for, that is to be a part of the Court of Revision. Do we have a second councillor who is available on the 27th at 6 p.m. and willing to serve on the Court of Revision? Councillor Dunstall, thank you very much. So we will add then to the motion, filling in the 2 blanks, that it will be Councillors Cressman and Councillors Dunstall to be appointed to the Court of Revision to be held on Tuesday, May 27th, 2025 at 6 p.m. I'm seeing no other questions. We've gone through the technical components regarding landowners and ratepayers, so I will call the vote. All of those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. On to our second report of the evening, which is 13.2 if you're following the agenda. And this is the zone recommendation change application for 73 Hink Street. To get this on the floor, may I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Dunstall. And I will invite our Manager of Planning and Economic Development, Andrew Martin, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mayor Sullivan. So this report was previously considered at Committee of the Whole. Nothing has changed since that time. I'll leave my comments at that, but if there are any questions, I'm certainly here to answer them.
Thank you, Manager Martin. Councillors, are there any new questions? As Manager Martin noted, this was discussed pretty lengthily at Committee of the Whole. Okay, seeing none, I will call the vote then. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. We do have a slightly altered recommendation for bylaws this evening, and that is that bylaws 2025-19, 2025-20, and 2025-21, as attached to this agenda, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed in open council, and that bylaw 25-18, which was the drain one we just dealt with, as attached to this agenda, be read a first and second time, and provisionally adopted in open council. May I have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Cressman, seconded by Councillor Wilkinson. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. We have no notice of motions this evening. I do have multiple announcements though. First, I wanted to acknowledge on behalf of council, extending our gratitude to all of the families and the communities impacted in Vancouver by the occurrences where several people were killed as well as injured at a street party celebrating Filipino culture. Our thoughts are with all who have been affected by this shocking and unspeakable act of violence, and we send our condolences to their families and friends and Filipino Canadians here in Wilmot and across the country. I did want to send a large thank you and congratulations to our Heritage Wilmot Committee and residents, as well as folks who were involved in the Heritage Wilmot Day in New Dundee this past Saturday. A special thank you to our staff member Cameron Miller, who sits on the committee and spent the better part of his Saturday out at the New Dundee Centre, as well as a special note to Councillor Cressman, who had a wonderful display on all of the wreaths in his family tree on his mother's side, which I would say you might be running for the family with the most wreaths in the family tree in Wilmot at this point in time. But
I should note that Director of Krafka is grafted into that tree as well.
very good. But yeah, really just a huge congratulations and thank you to everyone who made that day a great success. It's always wonderful to be able to celebrate our heritage, and I learned we are the last municipality in the region that actually hosts and has a Heritage Day. So a really extra special thank you that we're able to make that happen in our community. I will get to you after I get through my remaining announcements.
But I was just going to add one thank you to Councillor Martin, who provided sticky buns for everyone when they were setting up, and they were a real hit.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor. Clearly, I didn't get the memo that those are going to be there, and I arrived too late because they were already gone. But I did hear they were well received. On to April, I wanted to note that it is National Autism Awareness Month, and April 2nd was World Autism Day, which was an opportunity for positive action to provide space for support and advocacy for our diverse communities while learning about autism and how we can all make our communities better for autistic individuals. Today, April 28th, we do observe the National Day of Mourning and honor the workers who have lost their lives, suffered injury, or experienced illness due to workplace hazards. On this day, we also honor the many family and friends who have been deeply affected by these tragedies. Today, I had the opportunity to go to the City of Waterloo, along with Councillor Martin was also present at a ceremony put on by the Waterloo Labour Council to acknowledge this day, and our flags have also been lowered in acknowledgement. Congratulations to Let's Tree Wilmot, as Nova Power Corporation and the Township are partnering again to deliver our sold-out Wilmot Roots 2025 free tree giveaway. 360 trees were made available for residents and sold out quickly, and the trees consist of 6 different native species. I also wanted to note National Youth Week, which starts on Thursday, May 1st to Wednesday, May 7th. And this is an annual week-long series of events and activities dedicated to our youth. Locally, events are designed to celebrate youth culture and are organized by the Township in collaboration with our community partners and the Wilmot Family Resource Center. Please do visit the Township's website to learn about all of the planned activities, and a big shout out to everyone in Director Catania's department who I know have put a lot of energy into making this a really successful week. May 5th is the National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls and 2S LGBTQIA+ people in Canada. The Township of Wilmot will be honoring Red Dress Day by lowering our flags at the Administrative Complex on Monday, May 5th, with a small ceremony that all are invited to attend at 10 a.m. And thank you to the Ecumenical Working Group for providing the Township with a smudged dress to acknowledge this important day. And lastly for me, I wanted to note Bereaved Families of Ontario. The Midwestern region is a non-for-profit that serves Wilmot residents, and they are currently expanding programming into Wilmot for older adults this coming fall, and they are hosting a music night in Waterloo with local musicians on Thursday, May 8th from 7 to 10 p.m. at Forefathers Brewing in Cambridge. And just in general, for residents who you are bereaving, please do feel free to reach out to the Resources for Bereaved Families of Ontario, which is bfomidwest.org, both to purchase tickets for this event and also to get resources should you need them. As I said, they are expanding services to Wilmot residents. Councillors, do any of you have announcements? Councillor Dunstall.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Smile cookie time, April 28th, starting today till May 4th. All cookies sold at Tim Hortons, 100% of the proceeds go to local charities and local organizations. So if you have an opportunity, take advantage of this very good cookie. Very good.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sadhu.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a shout out to one of our local residents who's had a heck of a week this last week. Lady Luck is on his side. Our local Wayne Simpson managed to win a 50-50 at the Hamburg Firebirds game for $5,300. And then he won the next night again, which was $850. And he also won the turkey fund at the local bowling alley. So Lady Luck is clearly on his side, and congratulations, Wayne Simpson.
Very exciting. Any other announcements this evening, councillors? Okay, seeing none, we do have some business arising from close. The direction is that council directs the mayor to proceed as directed regarding CAO recruitment. May I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Cressman, seconded by Councillor Dunstall. All those in favor? That carries unanimously. May I have a mover and a seconder for our confirmatory bylaw this evening? Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Cressman. All those in favor? That carries unanimously. And adjournment. May I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Cressman, seconded by Councillor Dunstall. All those in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you and have a great evening.